Hey everybody, welcome back to World History with Mr. Finn. We're pretty close, so I'll try not to yell at you at your face here, but I wanted to show you a map so that you have an idea of what we're talking about as we look at the expansion of Islam across the world. So this is Africa. We're not talking about all of Africa, but this map shows us a couple things. One, this is the Arabian Peninsula where we started our story about Muhammad. Mecca and Medina are not on here. They're generally in this area where those cities would be. But this is the Arabian Peninsula, and this is where Islam is going to begin. It's where it's going to spread. It's just going to be this whole area. Now, what we are getting to today is going to be looking at the leadership of Islam getting controlled, like getting solid, and we start kind of a dynasty like we had in ancient Egypt, where a family of rulers would take over. And as we look at some of the dates that we're going to look at in the expansion, the time period that it's going, what we're going to see, just so we can look at this now, is from the Arabian Peninsula, Islam is going to begin to spread across northern Africa. So it's going to come across northern Africa, and this is the Mediterranean Sea. So up here you would see Italy, and Rome was here, and this is the area that Rome had controlled. And we're slowly seeing Islam come across North Africa, and this is Spain right here. We're going to talk about Spain today and this expansion of Islam into Spain. And once you're getting into Spain, Spain is what we would consider part of Europe. This is other countries of Europe would be like France and England and Germany and Italy, Spain, Portugal right here. So you are moving into an area that was heavily Christian. Because if you remember, at the end of the Roman Empire, Christianity had started to flourish in Western Europe. It became the religion of the empire before the western half of Rome collapsed. So these people are still Christian over here, and this new religion is about to come right into Europe through Spain, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So when I talk about the expansion of Islam, I'm talking about across North Africa, and we'll talk about getting into Spain. So on that note, I am going to, let's move you back first. Let's get you to where you need to be. There we go. And let's get our map out of here so I can give you some notes today. And here we go. Let's take a look at this, guys. All right. A couple of names, or a couple of terms. One is a name. Muawiyah. This is a person, all right? I mean, you can see this. Yeah. This is a person. He is going to, he begins the Umayyad dynasty. All right? So, Muawiyah is a person, just in case. Just in case we're looking back and you're like, wait a second, who is this? Yes, this is a person, Muawiyah. He is going to begin the Umayyad dynasty. This Umayyad dynasty is what I was saying before with like a hereditary, meaning like your son or people that were your blood relations would then take over, makes the leader or caliph hereditary. And again, hereditary means that it's going to be family members who are going to be leading the way. So we have this happen in 661. This is when this happens. To put it into perspective, what we're looking at now. If you remember, our last chapter was on Rome. The western half of the Roman Empire collapses or falls in 476 AD. So we are now looking at 170 some years or whatever it is after the western half of Rome. So it's like this is one of those times where the Roman Empire is going to collapse, and then this is something that starts to take off around the 600s, 100 years later, and then by 661, Muawiyah has created this first dynasty of leaders. So he is the one in charge. And if you remember, in the Islamic empire that it's going to become, like Muhammad, the leader is both the spiritual leader and the political leader. So they make all the decisions, and those people are going to make the decisions. So in 661, we are going to see this dynasty happen. And then it starts that North Africa, expansion. We see in North Africa, before we get to 725, let's do a little arrow down here. 710, the native people of North Africa, they're called Berbers. You don't need to know that name. We'll just say this. North Africa taken over by 710. By the time we get to 725, this is pretty quick moving if you think about it. This dynasty is created here. 50 years later, they've already taken part of North Africa. Past this, 15 years later, we're going to see this. I'll do it up here. And by 725, Spain taken over. So we had North Africa and the Berbers being taken over by 710. Then by the time we get to 725, which is 15 years later, they have conquered all of the Iberian Peninsula, where Spain is today. And this is what, on our map I was showing you, this is when people in Europe start to get concerned. Because the people in Europe are very Christian, like super Christian. It's like that's the number one thing in their life is their religion. And this Islamic empire is built off of a completely different religion. And they cannot technically coexist at the time, or really in general, if you think about their teachings, because in Christianity, if you remember, we talked about Jesus and the belief that he was the Messiah and he was a holy person. He was, holy person. When in Islam, they viewed Jesus as a prophet who was just a man, just a person, but he was not, divine. And so if you were a Christian, you would say, no, Jesus is the man, he's the Messiah, he is it. He is, he was the Son of God. And Muslims would say, no, he was just a person. And so that doesn't really mesh well for these people. And now, people in Europe are concerned, very concerned. By 725, all of Spain, all of Spain has been taken over. It's like the Muslims are knocking on the door of Europe like, hey, we're coming in, we're bringing our religion with us. Too bad for you, Christianity is going to be kaput. No more Christianity. You will all, eventually turn to this new religion that is sweeping the world at the time. That brings us to the Battle of Tours. Battle of Tours is important. This is kind of where we get to today as far as an end, because the Battle of Tours puts the stop to this spread of Islam into Europe. Basically, the Battle of Tours saves Europe's Christian religion from, the introduction of Islam and Muslims into this area, which would have made, or could have made, Europe look much different than it does today as far as the cultural aspect. But what is this Battle of Tours? In 732, Tours is a place in modern day France. Muslims are defeated at the Battle of Tours. I guess we can put this, which stops the expansion. I had to be more specific, into Europe. Because it will still expand, obviously. There's a lot of Muslims around the world even today. But the Battle of Tours is going to stop this spread that has been taking place now. 70 years of this? That's fast. 70 years is fast for a movement or a religion or something to spread across the known world. But that's basically what's happened. The Umayyad dynasty begins, and they just, boom, off and running. Once we get going, we got North Africa. From North Africa, we got all Spain. From all Spain, they're going to move into Europe and take all of Europe. But the Battle of Tours, or Valor Tour, is going to end this expansion for the Muslims into Europe. However, that does not mean they're out of Europe. They are still where? Give you a hint. Yes, they are still in Spain. So they're still there. It's a little uneasy, but Spain is going to be, a Muslim state. It is going to be different than the rest of Europe for a while. We'll take a look at it and see how it comes back, because Spain will eventually become a very Catholic/Christian, very Christian country. But as of now, think about this. We're in the year around 732. We're going to look back to the other side of the Muslim world to show some other expansion things. We're going to show a little bit of the breakdown of the culture of the Muslims. They're a much, let's put it this way, they're way more educated than the people who live in the old Western collapsed Roman Empire. They have medicine, mathematics. They're clean. They're much more advanced, and that kind of probably explains kind of why they're able to spread so quickly until the Battle of Tours here, unfortunately, for them. So on that note, you guys have been doing a lot of work lately, so give me the notes today. This will be your assignment to show me that you are in class for participation and attendance purposes. And then again, next class we'll go back to the Umayyad dynasty. And that's the news. And then we'll just go from there, and then we'll be moving on to our next chapter fairly soon. So I will see you next class.